Hey everyone. So, a topic that comes up pretty frequently when I have conversations with potential clients is whether to file as part of a group if you're doing a mandamus lawsuit, or to file individually or just on behalf of your family. And this comes up because sometimes we see that there's these pretty large groups of plaintiffs put together to file some cases. Like recently, there's been a group put together for 601A delays. And the answer, there's really no right or wrong answer to this. It's just there's pros and cons of both approaches, going forward as a group or going forward individually. And it's really just a question of figuring out what's best for you individually. So the quick analysis is I think there's two pros to going forward as part of a group. So number one, and this is the biggest one, is cost. It's typically cheaper to go forward as part of a group, especially if it's a bigger group. The reason for that is because the lawyers that are working on the case, there's a lot of efficiency in going forward as a group. So if you have a group, you could have a whole bunch of group members and put them all together on one complaint. If the case is contested going forward, typically there's one set of briefings that the lawyers have to do, and you're able to take that efficiency and spread it out amongst a bunch of different people. So the cost of going forward as a group, particularly if the case is contested and it's one that's fought, can be pretty significant. There could be a significant cost savings per person going forward as a group. The second advantage is that group cases get a lot of attention. Some people may see that as a negative if they just don't want a lot of attention on their kind of what's going on in their life. But the advantage of having the attention is that group cases at least have the potential to change the policy with something. So if you have enough people in a group, if there's 100 people and it's a large litigation, it's getting a lot of attention, USCIS may settle a case, and as part of the settlement, change the way that they're going to process the cases going forward. So some people may not care about that. They may just care about their own individual situation and aren't really concerned about the policy changes for people going after them. But for some people, that's very important. The cons of going forward as a group are also pretty significant. Number one, and this is especially true with a larger group, you're not going to get a lot or really any individual one-on-one attention from the attorneys. So if you're looking for updates, the chance to ask questions, to go over concerns that are really particular to your case and not really relevant to other people in the group, you may find that you have a difficult time doing that. So it's it's kind of like buying a suit off the rack versus having a tailor. You're going to have to kind of take something that's a one size fits all for everybody in the group a lot of times when it comes to communication. The cases also may take longer to resolve. So the whole purpose of a mandamus lawsuit is to get something decided quickly. But group cases, I think, have a tendency to take longer because they're more complicated, and I think the government is more likely to oppose them because the stakes for the government are higher. It's a bigger deal for the government to adjudicate 75 cases quickly because of a lawsuit as opposed to one. So it does, I think the group cases are a little less effective in that regard, in their ability to move quickly. So in terms of filing alone, the pros and cons are basically the mirror image on the group. So the pro of filing alone is that you're going to get a lot more personal attention regarding your lawsuit. The lawsuit is going to be crafted to deal with your specific situation. If you hired a lawyer and they're a good one, they should be available to talk you through the case, to answer any questions. So you're going to get a lot more personal attention that way. You're getting more of a tailored suit versus, an off the rack suit. These cases, I think they have a much higher chance of settling quickly. A lot of individual mandamus cases settle, meaning the cases get decided before the government has to respond to the lawsuit. It doesn't happen all the time. It's not guaranteed, but the odds of that happening are certainly greater with an individual suit than a group suit. The big con of the individual suit is, although mandamus lawsuits in general are not very expensive relative to other types of federal litigation, it's certainly more expensive to go forward with an individual suit just on behalf of you or on behalf of your family than it is to go forward as part of a group. Again, because the group has a lot of efficiencies to it, it's not as individualized and you get to spread out the cost to a lot of people. So the main con is the cost. So, you could see from this just brief analysis that I don't think there's a one size fits all answer that in every instance for every person, it makes sense to go forward individually or it makes sense to go forward as a group. It really depends on what your goals are and what your budget is. So, that said, if you're in a situation and lots of other people in a similar situation and you're in touch, it may be worth it to run it by an attorney to see whether it makes sense to go forward as a group or the trade-offs are too big versus an individual. But it's a real case-by-case analysis. So as always, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. And if you found this video useful, I hope you subscribe and you recommend it to others. Thanks.